Liberty, and Other Pursuits, our first speaker on that theme is Douglas Rushkoff. Rushkoff is a professor of media theory and digital economics at CUNY, Queens College, and he was named one of the most influential intellectuals by MIT, and he hosts the Team Human podcast and has written many award-winning books, including his latest, just out, called Survival of the Richest, Escape Fantasies of the Tech Billionaires. Here to talk to us about his sort of anarchist, Marxist kind of thinking, a cultural guy from back in the cyberpunk days, I give you Douglas Rushkoff. Thank you.
Hey, just checking everybody out here. I feel like a stand-up. I got invited to do a talk at a deluxe resort for what I assumed would be a group of technology investors, the kind of talk I'm invited to do because they think I'm a futurist. I'm actually just a presentist. If you look at conditions on the ground and nobody else is noticing what's happening and you say what's happening, then they think then it comes true because it's what's happening. They think you're a futurist. It's like, wow, people are eating in a room. Oh, how did you know? It's sort of that. So I got invited. I don't like to do it because I hate futurists because futurists are kind of propagandists, right, who predict a future where they're going to be needed to explain the future. And I got invited, and it was so much money, though, this one. It was like, I calculated about 1/3 of my CUNY salary, including benefits, to do a 1-hour talk at a resort. So, money talks, and so do I. So I took the gig. They flew me business class where, I don't know if they gave me warm nuts. Did you ever go business? They give you warm, it's like genius, right? Warm nuts. They used to have them in New York, but something happened to them. But yeah, warm nuts, the whole thing. I get there in the middle of the desert. They pick me up in a limo, and we're driving 2.5 hours, and I'm thinking, what kind of tech millionaires are going to go 2.5 hours out to a resort? We go over this bluff, and then I see this G5 landing, right? Next, like parallel to the highway, there's this private airfield there. Finally get to the resort, and they take me around in a little golf cart to my private pavilion with a hot tub and some kind of salt thing I'm supposed to put. It was a whole thing, not chlorine, but salt hot tub. I was just learning so much. And the next morning, they come in another little golf cart and take me to this pavilion where my talk is going to be. And I'm sitting in the green room getting ready to do my kind of anarcho-syndicalist thing. The wealthy investors love to be punished. I'm sort of like the intellectual dominatrix for them, right? Change your ways. Yes, sir, may I please have another? It's that kind of thing. So I'm in the green room getting ready to do that whole bit and waiting for the guy to come with the mic me up. And instead they bring in these 5 men into the green room and they sit around this little round table. And this is the talk, right? They don't want to hear my talk. They just start peppering me with all these really binary questions about the future, like which should they bet on? Like Bitcoin or Ethereum, virtual reality or augmented reality, right? And I'm the guy who said Betamax and CompuServe, right? It's like, no. That's like, I don't know the brands. I know the landscape. It's a little different. And eventually, they got around to the question that mattered to them most, which was Alaska or New Zealand. Right? So here they are. These are wealthy guys turning to basically a Marxist media theorist for advice on what to do for the event. That's what they called it, the event. It's like the cataclysm, the climate change, the economic crisis, the electromagnetic pulse that takes down civilization. And I'm like, I thought you guys have rocket ships. And they said, no, we're low-level billionaires, right? Musk and Theo and those guys, they have rocket ships. We just got to build a bunker and fortify it and get a bunch of Navy SEALs to protect it. I think, okay, Navy SEALs, right. So, and just to toy with them, because that's my nature, I say, okay, so the world ends, civilization's over, you've got these Navy SEALs coming. Yeah, they're on contract, it's all done. They got helicopters and weapons. It's like, yeah, but after civilization's over and your money is worthless, how are you going to maintain the allegiance of your Navy SEALs? And one of the guy opens up this little mole book thing and he's like, how to pay the Navy SEALs after the... And we end up spending the rest of this hour in this kind of Walking Dead scenario planning It's like, well, I could be the only one who knows the combination to the food, or what if we get their families there too? And then and then one of them said we'll do little implants in everybody on the thing, so that'll control where people can go, and then we could also use them kind of like a shock collar if they disobey. And I'm just sitting there thinking, these 5 men, and 3 of them I documented are billionaires, or were at least before this last crash. These are the most powerful, wealthiest men I've ever been in the same room with, yet they feel utterly powerless to influence the future. Right? The best they could do is prepare for the inevitable event and then hang on. And I realized their whole approach, what they're really playing, is something I've come to call the insulation equation. Right? They're thinking, how much money and technology do I need to insulate myself from the reality I'm creating by earning money and using technology in this way? Right? They're trying to escape the externalities of their own actions. It's like they want to build a car that can drive fast enough to escape from its own exhaust. Right? They don't realize that they come back around. And it's real. And you think about it, like I just read an article about Epson printers that Cory Doctorow, a great writer, he wrote. Epson printers, there's a particular Epson printer which is pre-programmed to brick itself after a certain number of pages. Right? It just ceases. And then you got to buy another one. So there's a guy at Epson, right? There's some dude there who's making the calculation, I realize we're going to have to dig more rare earth metals out of the ground and send from some enslaved children in the Congo. We're going to have to take the existing printer and throw it into a toxic landfill in Brazil somewhere. And I'm going to contribute to the acceleration of the end of this planet. But I'm going to make enough margin selling the extra printer to somehow be able to insulate myself from that craziness. And it just doesn't work, right? To continue to attempt to escape from one's own externalities. They used to do it in the industrial age, was just by going faster, right? Just go faster or further west, conquer a new territory, colonize them, take their stuff, enslave their people, and then when they get angry, go further, right? Keep going. In the digital age, though, it's a little bit different. It's more abstract, right? Digital is like this other abstracted realm above ours, this simulacrum. So when digital people want to escape, they want to go meta, right? They want to level up somehow, like off the planet. Like think of Peter Thiel's business book. What is it called? 0 to 1. What is that? 0 to 1. He says you have to, if you want a successful business, you have to exist 1 order of magnitude above everybody else competing. Like be Web 2 to their Web 1. Mark Zuckerberg, when Facebook stops turning a profit and Sheryl Sandberg jumps ship, what does he do? Meta. Literally meta. He just calls it meta. He's just claiming meta. And what is meta? It's like Web 3, crypto, virtual reality, something. It's just up there, 1 level above. Not Web 2, we're Web 3. And what is that? It's an utterly disconnected from the ground universe, right? The people are running around with nothing from no genitals, no legs, nothing. They're just floating around there, right? It's the ultimate tech bro wet dream of like, ugh, right? It's like the ultimate exit strategy, right? They've done so many IPOs and exits that they realize we're living on a landscape from which you have to exit in order to even survive. The ultimate example would be Ray Kurzweil, right? Ray Kurzweil, who's trying to use Google to build a computer to house his brain, right? He wants to literally rise from the chrysalis of matter into pure consciousness and go meta on being human itself. And I understand there's some, what's interesting, I just thought of, this is an aside, but the one thing the tech bros are afraid of, this is a good meme, actually. I'm going to write this down. Are you allowed to think up things while you're doing one of these? I was at this thing, this tech bro retreat, and this guy who was responsible for one of the social networks said to me, he said, Doug, you write a lot of negative stuff about AI. Aren't you concerned that, someday when the AIs are in charge, they're going to see what you wrote and really come down hard on you? Right? And I said, dude, what are you talking? And he goes, I've carefully removed anything. I don't say anything about AI in public. I'm very careful not to say anything. And I'm like, dude, if you think the AIs are going to be so smart, aren't they going to be able to infer from your posting pattern what you've left out? The fact that you're actually afraid and hate them? And he's like, oh, shit. Right. But the reason they're afraid of AIs, the reason why I thought of it is the AI is the one thing that can go meta on them. Right? They're trying to go meta. Right? But the going meta, the getting out, I sympathize with it because I remember my dad, when we were kids, my dad would take us down to the Lower East Side in the car. And he would say, this is where I was raised. 9 of us in that tenement, all bathing in a bucket or whatever, And I got out of this bad neighborhood. I went to school. I earned money. I did whatever I needed so we could get out of that neighborhood somewhere better so you could be raised better. And I get that. Get out of the bad neighborhood to raise your kids somewhere better. But what about when the whole world is that bad neighborhood? Right? How do you leave? How do you extract yourself from that? You can't. Right? That's why with these billionaires, finally what I told them is, maybe the way to prevent your Navy SEALs from turning on you in the bunker is to be nice to them now. Right? Like find your head of security and pay for his daughter's bat mitzvah. Right? And then maybe he won't shoot you between the eyes. Because if you started treating maybe everybody like that, you wouldn't have to prepare for a catastrophe at all. All right, thanks a lot.